Good morning, Michael. Michael, welcome to Geoengineering Free Canada.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So obviously, there's a few things that we want to know here in Canada about you personally, certainly, and your initiative and your action. You just took I don't know, is it a week? No, not a week, obviously, a month ago or something. You presented a bill.
Mhm.
And so you've been talking to some officials here about geoengineering. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, then why don't we just start and maybe you introduce yourself a little bit. You introduce the bill you've been talking
Yeah.
about, and so on, so on. And I will ask some questions.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Michael Hogan, and I'm with Mo Clean Skies. And yeah, you're right. We had some legislation or have legislation here in Missouri. We authored or co-authored a bill in the Senate and two bills in the House. And they both got some traction, actually. And unfortunately, the time has run out. It's about 2 weeks left before the session ends, and the process. I know different states have different processes, but this one is going to be basically a fight against the clock, and we're not going to win that. So, however, I mean, it's as frustrating as that is. We made some amazing strides this year. What people have to understand is this is a long, hard fight. This is not, so people get so frustrated when they go outside and they look up, and they're like, nothing's changing. And I'm thinking, you can complain forever, but if you don't understand how hard this is, and this is a big time deal, and it's going to take a long time. Okay, it's going to take patience, and I'm one to talk about patience because I don't have very much patience, but yeah, it's going to be a long, hard fight. So we made some huge strides this year, and looking forward to next year because we are so far ahead of where we were when we started this session. So I'm really excited about what we're doing here.
well, congratulations. You must have been really nervous, right, presenting?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely out of my comfort zone. I'd say that a year ago I wasn't doing this, right? So I mean, this is all new to us. We came out of nowhere, but people are like, who is this guy? Comes out of nowhere. It's true. I came out of nowhere, and a year ago I was just one of two people. We sat down and said, what are we going to do about this? And we started from two people. Now we have 150,000 followers and 26 million views, things like that. So yeah, that was out of my comfort zone for sure. I think if you asked me a year ago if I would do that, I would say no way. But I'm determined, and with my knowledge that I've learned, it really brings a lot of passion to what I have to say, and nobody better than me to do it, honestly, at this level, at this location. So that's what drives me and kind of keeps my nerves down a little bit. So
Cool. Yeah, great. Well, can you explain to me because obviously there's other states like Florida, Tennessee. We've all heard about their bills they passed. Tennessee had to unfortunately admit that they can't really enforce it. All these kind of things
yeah.
made the news. And so, what is the difference to your bill? So, and I learned that obviously it's certainly different here in Canada, obviously, with regards to how we name those bills. So in your case,
Yeah.
it was a House bill. Other states, they have state bills. What exactly is the difference?
Well, we have Senate Bill SB 860, and then we have House bills HB 2356 and 2388. So it's just it's similar to the United States or the U.S. Process where you have to start in the House if you want a House bill to start there, and if it goes to committee a couple times, and then it goes to the floor if it passes the committee and the rules committee. So then it goes to the floor for a debate, and then at that point it goes over to the Senate, and it kind of goes into that direction. Same thing for the Senate bills. If you start in the Senate, you start in committees, and then you go from there, it goes to the floor, and it goes on to the House. So we just decided we were going to hit it from both angles, both, and because we have senators that want this done, and we have state reps So I think we're going to do the same thing next year. Just see which one hits first.
Okay, cool. Oh, wow. Okay, so from all angles, you're going to tackle the fear pushers and you're going to tackle geoengineering. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Well, good to
yeah.
hear. Well, when you talk about geoengineering, so obviously we both are mentored by Jim Lee, climate viewer, and so we have learned a lot about what is what is geoengineering and how to use and what is the right terminology when it comes to geoengineering. Uh, because geoengineering, not everything is geoengineering. Weather modification is not necessarily geoengineering either. So, where
Uh,
is geoengineering happening? Geoengineering is happening in the stratosphere. This is
mhm.
where stratospheric aerosol injection is happening. Weather modification goes down the into the troposphere. So this is where we live. This is where everything is happening. This is where our lakes are. This is where our trees are. So and so and so.
Yeah.
So obviously there is a big misconception and misunderstanding of where is what happening and what is where happening, and
Yeah.
these type things. So do you think that the officials you were presenting to, did they really understand what you were talking about?
Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? Because this is a very complicated topic, and even the people who are leading, the bills, like sponsoring the bills, like the senator that sponsored the bill, and then we have state reps that are sponsoring it. It's hard enough to get them to understand it because they're going to have to defend it on the floor, right? We can go into committees and we can bring ourselves and our A players the best we can, but it's going to be up to them when it goes to the floor. We can't be there for them. So that is a real big challenge because this is a complicated topic and there's so much misinformation out there about this. I think probably we all started with the wrong information. And it's because there's a lot of wrong information out there being pushed, and by the millions of people who believe the wrong information. And basically, I'll just tell you the wrong information is that when you look up in the sky and you see what we call chemtrails, then you think that that's a nefarious plane that's spraying us out of nozzles, and it's just not the case. And of course, I take a lot of heat when I say that, but look, there is such a thing as planes that spray out of nozzles. That is a real thing. That is geoengineering. That is stratospheric aerosol injection. I'm not denying that. In fact, that's what these bills are to stop. We want to stop that. We want to ban that. But let's get real. When we look at the sky and we see planes flying over, and you get yourself a simple flight tracker app, and you discover that those are not unmarked planes. I mean, maybe once in a while you'll see one, but you're going to see that they are, commercial airplanes from by and large, or maybe cargo planes, and possibly military planes. Depends on where you're located. You might see more military planes than I do. But when I'm looking up at the sky and I started to track this, and I really pushed back to the Jim Lee narrative because I was kind of going down that road, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't think he's right. And then I started looking it up for myself, and I was like, I'll be dang, he is right. And so these are, Delta, United, DHL, FedEx, and that's when it really clicked for me that what I had been told is
Mhm,
wrong. And
mhm,
so the last thing I want to do is to be spreading false information. So I had to go back and I had to make it right. I had to come out and say, look, I've been wrong about this, and here's the real truth. And then I had to go back and delete a bunch of old videos and videos that had gone really far. But this is only within a year's time too. So going back to the original question, trying to teach these legislators about it. Yes, there's a lot of confusion about it. But I think now, going into next year, we're going to really do a much better job of explaining this. When I went into committee uh, the last time, it was only about 4 weeks ago, if that. The committee chair she said she walked into the committee with her eyes rolling, like this is an eye roll. Let's just get this over with. But when I came out with the real facts and I started to point out that we're not talking about chemtrails, she perked up and went, "What do you mean?" And she went on to a podcast that I found out about. I'm actually going to bed one night And I scrolling through Facebook, and I happened to go to Real Talk Radio, and I heard my name, and I'm like, what in the world? That'll get your attention, you know? And it was her. She was on a podcast on Real Talk Radio, and she mentioned my name. She said, I walked into that committee hearing with, just get this over with. This is conspiracy theory. And then she went, I became a true believer because of my testimony. And that is, she said that I said that, these trails that we're seeing in the sky, that is not what we're talking about. That's not what we want you to stop. You have no control over the commercial aviation, okay? But what we can stop is stratospheric aerosol injection. We can stop weather modification with regard to cloud seeding. That's what we're focusing on here in the state. So we've got to keep it really basic and simple for them to say that's the things that we're stopping. We're not trying to stop the trails that we see in the sky, and explain that that's coming from commercial aviation. When they fly through, certain conditions in the sky, then that's when they leave a trail. So I don't know. It's a difficult task for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Well, I'm glad to hear that you changed your views on chemtrails versus contrails, this type thing as well, because that's the biggest confusion here. Because and I just recently, not long ago, a few days ago, something in my own group here in Canada, someone posted, oh yeah, the shorter trails are, they dissipate and they go away, and those are the contrails, and then the long is the chemtrails and all that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So how many times am I supposed to post my own interviews, so the interviews I had with several other people, with Jim, multiple times, and point people to Jim's really brand new and absolutely incredible website, the chemtrailfacts.com, where he really, really so well explains that these are clouds, artificial clouds, and again, pollution made visible through atmospheric conditions. And you're so right, because, and just yesterday, to give an example here, we finally hit beautiful springtime with really clear blue skies, and there was absolutely no clouds. So I usually I'm not really saying clear skies, because the sky isn't really absolutely clear anymore. It's kind of some, this hazy type thing. Yes, I agree to that, because this is absolutely stratospheric aerosol injection that has happened somewhere around the world, and somewhere on this globe, and someone is doing geoengineering, and someone is doing stratospheric aerosol injection, and it doesn't have to be here. Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And the other thing is, it is also the pollution coming out of the commercial aviation that is making its way up to the stratosphere. That's contributing to the geoengineering as well, for sure. But yeah, it only takes, I think it was David Keith himself that said it only takes 14 or 15 planes to do this for the entire globe. So that's scary, right? Considering we have companies that are coming out as of now with Stardust and different places like that, different companies like that are, have that many planes, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And why would you, I mean, my question always is, why would you really try and cool the planet? The planet cools itself. That's nature. This is there's, like I say, there is so many things to consider. Atmospheric conditions is a big one. We're heading in a grand solar minimum. So in other words, we are the distance between the sun and the earth is getting wider and bigger, and that automatically cools the planet anyway, right? Because there is no such heat coming down from the sun anyway. So why the heck would you like to do this? What is the purpose and what is the idea behind this? And then coming out, like you mentioned, David Keith, coming out with a statement, it's going to kill tens of thousands of people. I mean, what the heck, David Keith?
And he laughs when he says it, like it's really sickening.
Yeah. It
Really
really is.
is. It's called,
Yeah.
they get the term mad scientist. That's what he is. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot, I can name a lot of them that are in other, you know, those types of scientists,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
uh, they're just, man, we're living in a scary world. I tell you that much
Yeah.
people have to rise up. There's that image that's, I don't know if it's a painting or whatever, but, of the people that are, you know, basically holding up the game board, right? And there's a few people playing the game board, like scientists and leaders. But when the people rise up, the game's over, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we're at, and we have to get involved. I mean, I'm the perfect example. I was just literally really loving my quiet life with not being known by anybody, not getting my anybody's feathers ruffled, and I was like, you know what, I have been called for such a time as this, and I have to go, so here it goes.
Good on you. Yeah. Yeah, there is a time for us to really rise up and not just, I really don't necessarily like that term wake up, because it's a process and people have to realize that there is not just geoengineering. There's other things, like you just pointed to that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's that. And there is stages obviously in our lives where things happen, and then more and more people start to realize that there is something going on. Unfortunately, we don't get the amount of people on the streets anymore to protest and to make their voices heard.
Yeah.
I really don't know what else has to happen, because it's already going down south. The whole I don't know, economy everywhere in the world is struggling, and there is a big change happening, and big things are going on. But anyway, so going back to geoengineering. So yeah, just going back to my little example from yesterday. Again, cloudless sky, and then and it's every day. It's the exact same time around 2 in the afternoon when there is a plane flying by, and it last well, obviously yesterday afternoon, it left a persistent trail. And then
Yeah.
I was like, look at this. We have cloudless skies. There's absolutely nothing visible but this trail. So what I would like to encourage people to do is when they see these kind of things, then go on. You mentioned a flight tracker. Go
Mhm.
on oh gosh, we presented so many times these particular websites like Windy.
Mhm.
Get your contrail finder, download the plugin for the contrail finder. Go on, I don't know, all these different weather
Yeah.
websites where you can actually really understand why is this. So obviously there
Yeah.
must have been a so-called ISSR up
Yep.
there, and
Yep.
I supersaturated region.
Yep.
This plane flew through and
Yeah.
left this trail.
Yeah. Yep.
It's that easy, right?
It really
And
is. Yeah. It's easy, but well, you're asking the people to do a lot of things. For one, you're trying to change their thinking that, wait a minute, what are you trying to say? This is not what I thought it was. That's number one. That's the biggest problem. The other thing is you're asking them to, okay, go and do some things.
yeah.
get a flight tracker app. That's not hard, but for some people, it's just like you can't get them to do things. Then going to, Earth Null Schools is another app that you can go and check, the conditions and the altitude. But that's not easy to do either. And even windy.com, you have to add the plugin, and it's a little bit, this takes you to another level of if you're talking to the general public, they're probably not going to do any of that. So, but people like you and me will. So that's the challenge. It's easy for us to say that. It's easy for you and me, and it's changed my life literally, just because I can answer just about any question about anything. the people are constantly commenting, and what will, if it's commercial aviation, then why are they turning on and off? That's the one I get the most. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop watching these dumb documentaries where people are looking up at the sky like Tattoo on Fantasy Island and go, the plane, it's turning on and off. It's because it's flying through a basically a humidity pocket. If you're
Yeah.
trying to explain it to normal people, aren't going to know what ISSR is, high supersaturated region, but you can
Hmm.
say it's a humidity pocket, like a pockets of humidity that come and go. That's just
Hmm.
part of atmospheric science. So
Hmm.
pockets of humidity, super cold temperatures at that altitude. That's the other thing that I didn't understand is that, like, I would go, well, it's 100 degrees here. How can it be ice crystals, at cruising altitude? I didn't know. Yeah, it's really cold up there.
Hmm.
And so, it's just explaining, keeping it super simple to say, look, these planes, when they fly through these pockets of humidity, they go in and out of them. So it looks like to you, if you think that they're spraying with pumps and pipes, it looks like they turned it on and off. Well, first of all, why in the world would they do that? Why would they turn on and off? Are they just messing with you? Hey, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. That's the dumbest thing ever. So they do fly through these pockets of humidity and they go in and out. And that's why it looks like it's turned on for a few minutes or maybe a few seconds, probably, and it turns
Hmm.
off. You can also look at the sky in a late afternoon, like you're talking about, and you can see like this side over here completely clear. And then when all of a sudden on this side, it's
Hmm.
stripes everywhere, right? And it's in the if you watch the planes, you can't see them because they're not leaving a trail, right? So you only really notice them when they're leaving a trail. So
Hmm.
if you have your flight tracker app, you can go, okay, I can see a plane coming from that direction now. And then you can kind of pinpoint a little deep bitty dot, right? And you can
Hmm.
say, okay, it's going to start spraying right about there. And sure enough, it starts right exactly where that pocket of humidity is.
Hmm.
And, that's it's easier for us to say, but I think that it really is up to us to try to explain this to the public and get them to understand that.
Yeah, that is so true. Yes, and I really appreciate it, but it's really still in people's heads. And this is what I actually noticed is that the terminology that the other side is using, the spraying us like bugs, people,
Yeah.
it's the exact same language the government is using to make your I don't know, to infiltrate you or something like that, to make you believe something that isn't true. When we go back 6 years, what has happened there was when they were pushing the narrative on you that there is something so dangerous out there that you have to get we know what, and
Yeah.
so and so. It's the exact same thing. They are spraying us, this type
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
And this, unfortunately, and I remember when I started Geoengineering Free Canada, which is, oh gosh, that goes back to 2022 already. And we were, at that time, I don't know, you probably don't know that, but I'm the worldwide rally person here in Canada. So I brought the worldwide rally to Canada back in 2021. And this is where the whole awareness of certain thing has started, that people were, I don't know, they were just looking at different things all of a sudden. You could literally, people were then all of a sudden looking up the sky, and then we're talking about these trails. And I never buy into stuff. I always dig, and then I was looking up there and I was like, yeah, because then all of a sudden people were talking about the chemtrails and all that kind of stuff, and the short ones and the persistent ones and all that kind of stuff. And I said, I'm not buying this. I want to dig deeper into this and I want to know more. And this is how we then started Geoengineering for Canada. And this is how we found Jim, because we all were, and I'm pretty sure you did the same thing. We followed or we watched certain 90-second clips, so we all gonna die tomorrow. And then but this never made any sense to me. And then we found Jim,
Yeah.
and this is how we started our journey. And then all of a sudden Jeff came into our group here, and then we were talking about atmosphere, all of a sudden weather and atmospheric conditions. And this is how
Yeah.
the whole uh, perception and the whole idea of chemtrails versus contrails started to change,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden started to make sense. At least this
Yeah.
is how I experienced the whole
Yeah.
journey and the whole understanding of geoengineering. And again, there is differences in what is geoengineering, what is weather modification, where is what
Yeah.
and why. Yeah, interesting.
Can I share something about what frustrates me the most about the people in this movement? It is like there are so many people in this movement that know better because I've trained some of them, and I'm talking pretty high level names who just continue to push this narrative that they're still spraying us, and they do it because I think it sells better. Like the public they want to get more clicks that way. And
Mm-hmm.
I get really upset about that. And I called them out on it, not publicly, but I mean personally, one
Mm-hmm.
on one. And I say, if you know the truth and you continue to push this lie narrative, that's on you. You're not helping this movement at all. You're hindering it because
Mm-hmm.
the quick that brings that conspiracy theory tinfoil hat thing. See, what I'm watching these legislators in other states, because you can pull them up and see them trying to defend the bills. Like I don't want to call out a state, but there's a state in particular that I was watching the state rep, and he was doing his best. I think he was a farmer and doing his very best to try and explain what was going on and that why they needed to ban geoengineering and weather modification. And if you watch that, the people in the House, like all the representatives there were people that were like audibly laughing at him, calling him a conspiracy theorist. And I'm talking most likely Democrats and Republicans. And it was a sad thing to watch because, when you go in there, like you go in there and they all automatically are going to just assume and write you off because you are wrong. You are wrong about the trails and skies. So the minute he said the word chemtrail, everything just kind of fell apart. That whole thing went down in about, I mean, it was brutal. I don't know however long it took him to finish, but in about 10 seconds it was voted down.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely uh, committed and determined to get this correct. And you see
Mm-hmm.
a lot of videos that I do where I'm correcting this narrative, and I'm doing the very best that I can, and I'm going to continue to do this to really keep it as simple as I can to explain
Mm-hmm.
what is really going on in the sky that we see, the trails we see,
Mm-hmm.
because this is going to help us when we
Mm-hmm.
when we go into with the legislators. I'm proof. I mean, I'm the lady, the chair lady that was on that committee. I'm going to have her sponsor this bill next year.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And actually on that same committee, by the way, we had an atmospheric scientist he's a state rep. He's an atmospheric scientist and an environmental attorney. And, I'm walking in there with, like a year under my belt, and I'm like, whoo, this is tough. And he started asking a lot of questions, and turns out he's on my side. And you know what? He's also going to sponsor this bill next year because I'm talking about the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
the interesting thing, if you go back and watch that, it's actually available on our website or on our YouTube page, and I guess the website too. But he actually says in the hearing, you know, he talks about the stratospheric aerosol injection, all that kind of stuff. But he also says, you know what? He said this bill really intrigues me because he said what the airlines have been getting away with, because he started talking about the Clean Air Act, here in our little committee hearing in Missouri. And I know what he's talking about, but probably most people in that room didn't. And I'm with him like, wow, this is gonna go somewhere. And he was talking about how the Clean Air Act gave permission to the FAA by the EPA to continue to pollute us with all kinds of non-carbon, types of pollutants, because they were so focused on, our carbon footprint, and allows the airlines to pollute us every single day. So he's already on that path as an environmental scientist and environmental attorney. So he said, I'm really intrigued by this because I think this could lead to pressure on the EPA and the FAA to get their act together. Because
Mm-hmm.
and that's true. I mean, if the more the states get, the more states that pass laws and the more this information is getting out, that pressure is getting up, is making its way up the chain. We saw it whenever Lee Zeldin came out, and right away, he came out. I think Trump said, you got to go out and talk about this because this is something that's constantly we're getting bombarded with all these people saying, you got to stop the chemtrails. He came out, started talking about geoengineering, and then he said and then there's contrails. And that, the way he said it really turned everybody off because it made it sound like he was excusing it as just water vapor. And I guess
Right.
he kind of was. And so what we have to do is we have to make sure that we correct that we point out that we put pressure on the EPA and the FAA to say, we know that you're polluting us with major levels of sulfur dioxide, number one. Uh, and then also all the other pollutants that are non-carbon related. And until you fix that, we're going to continue to keep pounding you about this because we know that is the real source of these trails that we're seeing in the sky, and you know it too, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, well, interesting. Well, congratulations. That really sounds so promising, and quite frankly, I would love to know how we can actually do something here in Canada about this too. The problem is, and it's pretty much, well, it's obviously similar in the United States because state law is below federal law. And this is here too. Provincial law is below federal law. So we do have the provinces and we have individual, kind of different legal things happening in every single province. And even the provinces are so different. Like in the United States, probably every state is different than Missouri, for example. And here it's the exact same thing. So how I was always thinking, how can we and what can we do here in British Columbia in order to make our voices heard federally? Someone in Alberta was trying to do something about it, but this didn't go anywhere, in my opinion. And the reason why I believe it's not going anywhere is because when you don't know what you're talking about, and you just try and make people to hand out flyers or something like that, that's not going to go anywhere, because these people, when someone asks you a question and you can't answer that question and you don't know what exactly to tell someone asking that question, then where is what you come out like, so you sound stupid and silly, and that's the biggest problem. We need the people that really do understand the scientific background of what we see and what we don't see. And so it does not necessarily mean, if we do not see a trail in the sky, that the pollution isn't happening, right? So call it what it is. It is pollution.
yeah.
And so how can we in Canada, what would you advise us, or kind of advise us to do? Well, how can we approach this?
Well, I think it's a grassroots thing. Okay, all we're just you're one person, I'm one person, but we have a pretty good voice, pretty big voice, and so I think our following just continue to really educate the public on this, and it is I'm seeing progress in this, and I've seen it in just the past 6 months, and I'm encouraged by it. When I do talk to Jim, I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, there's people that are coming around to this. So keep doing what you're doing.
Mm,
And I'm perfect example of I went complete about face, 180 degrees overnight, and this is exciting. I mean, I think it's that I can't tell you, I don't know how it works there. I mean, here in the States, I can say it is good that we're having the conversation at the state levels. And I think you should too. It's provinces or what is it? It's not states. It's what is it? In Canada.
province.
It's provinces. Okay. And so having this conversation, because there's people that are in the legislature that are getting these bombarded questions, and most of the time they're about chemtrails, right? But if you can educate the legislators too, and say, look, here's the truth behind this. They're relieved when they find out, whoa, okay, because they want to get these people off their backs. I'm
Hmm.
telling you, they're not these the people are not going to stop calling. And even if they're wrong about chemtrail, at least we're giving the authorities, right? These legislators, the evidence of, oh, I know what. Okay, now I get this, and this is exciting to me. Now we can actually talk about the difference between actual stratospheric aerosol injections and the
Hmm.
difference between the pollution coming from the aviation industry. And it's all bad. So we have to stop it all. But just education
Mm,
is really the key, not just to the public, but also to the legislators. Find the legislators that are really, there's going to be a bunch of, you may not realize it, that want to show the public that they're listening. And I mean, there's a lot of them. They just don't
mm,
know how to do it because it's such a complicated topic. And
yeah.
so go find those legislators somehow
Mhm,
and
mhm,
have
mm,
conversations with them, and maybe even be invited, get yourself invited to speak at some of
mm,
their meetings and things like that. And that's what I do. I speak at as many as I can, not just with, I'll speak at, like, there's one not far from here that's actually really good. There's state reps, there's local reps, and there's even national people there that show up to this meeting, and they want me back every single time. And I'm just like, I can't be at every single time, but it's you know that's really it. Just keep doing your stuff at the ground level, but also get to the legislators and educate them.
mm. Yeah, 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 I believe so too. It's just hard to, for us to go to Victoria because Victoria is a day travel away from me.
Yeah, that's true. So how far is it exactly?
Well, first of all, I would have to get to Vancouver, which is about a 5 hour drive, 5.5 hour
Yeah,
drive, and then you have to take the ferry and cross over into onto Vancouver Island, which
yeah,
is, yeah. So altogether, it's almost a day to get there.
yeah. I know. Well, it's 3.5 hours for me right here. It's a lot, not nearly as complicated as it is for you, and that extra 2 hours is a big deal. But there's going to be people that you're going to come in contact with, that you can partner with, that can help you, that are there probably,
Yes,
and
yeah, no, I do. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite connected here anyway, and I did when
okay.
I started geoengineering for Canada. I traveled quite a bit here. I started to with a really big event here in Kelowna. So Kelowna is where I'm located, and so that's about 4.5 hours away from the ferry terminal,
Mhm.
and so that's what we did. We had quite a bit of lots of people attending our events and stuff like that. And when they, the trouble is that most people, their attention span is so low that when you start talking about a complicated and complex topic like geoengineering, then people sometimes really, they
Yeah,
it's too
yeah,
much. It's
yeah,
way over their heads,
yeah,
and that unfortunately is a big problem.
yeah,
And again, it's very complicated, it's complex, and keep it as simple as possible. Yes, that's what we're trying to do too.
yeah,
And we all know explain it to me like a 5-year old, and that type thing. Yeah, but you have to also consider the terminology. You keep your terminology right, and
Yeah.
that's another problem. Then it's how. that's, but anyway, yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's it's just not like I say. The distance is sometimes a big problem, or is creating some issues, especially for me.
Well, just do what you can. Stay, you can't be all things to all people, but you have a voice. And the good thing about with technology, you can be just about everywhere, right? And you're reaching a different audience right now. And so do what you do best. Don't worry about you can't put the whole world on your shoulders. You can't put all of Canada on your shoulders. All you can do is what you've been called to do yourself, and opportunities will come as in time, and for you to do different things. But do what you're doing, and just it's about your voice and about educating people. I bet you have a pretty good following, and what I'm going to do here is what I seem to do well, and the reason why I do this well is because I learn very basics. I want it to be broken down very simple, right? And so I want to learn. I learn that way. So what I want to do is try to teach people. So I'm going to put together some small, links that answer these little questions, and then try to do it within, like, I mean, you get 30 seconds with people, right? I
Mhm.
mean, maybe I'll get a minute, right? Sometimes longer. But if they ask, I'm going to say, here's one question, click this link, and here's the answer, right? For
Mhm.
example, why are the planes turning on and off? Okay, here's the reason, right? Here's
Mhm.
and they can go in and click any, and it's a video, quick video to explain every single question that we get. And again, it's just about education, teaching people what this is all about, the truth, because the truth is going to make a big difference in our success here. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's great advice. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
So I obviously I need to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Education is it's all about education anyway, right?
yeah,
It
yeah,
all boils down to education. That is so true.
yeah.
Yeah.
You might,
Well,
you know what? Can I say this too? You might be surprised at what legislators are following you. Because I tell you what, I have a lot more than I know, because I don't look at everybody that's following. That'd be too hard to do. Well, here's an example. I went in when I walked into the Capitol, and I was asked if I could meet with the Speaker of the House pro tem, the Speaker pro tem, and walked into his office, and he recognized me and came around his desk and practically gave me a hug. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. And he's like, I follow you on Facebook. I'm a fan. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And so he co-sponsored my bill immediately. And so you don't know who you might be reaching. So
yeah, that is so true. I presented to a city council. Oh gosh, it's probably a year ago now, in Kelowna. He is, he's trying to build a bridge between us, the protesters, and the city council, the Kelowna City Council. So he is actually on our side. Let's put it this way.
yeah,
And then I presented to him and a friend of his, and it took about an hour or something for because I have a really big giant presentation put together, and
yeah,
touching different things, and certainly trying to explain that what we were talking, geoengineering versus weather modification and so and so. And the final comment was, Bettina, we have to learn a lot more about this, and we have to look into this deeper. And I was very surprised about that comment. And yeah, so and I try and keep in contact with city council, but it's so hard for me to
Yeah.
get a response back, or to they booted me out, they kicked me out, because they also know my history about, the protests and the rallies we did during the sea crap. I
Yeah.
call it the sea crap.
Yeah.
And so they are aware who we are, and so that we are the conspiracy theorist people, these type of
Yeah.
thing. It's so hard to get through to these guys. And
Mhm.
yeah, so they try and make me register for something, and I'm like, no, I don't need to register for anything. Just listen to me, and just,
Yeah.
all I need is 10 or 15 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes. And they
Yeah.
yeah, they don't like it.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. But
Well, you
yeah,
know
so
what?
I
If you get that, just wipe the dust off your feet and just move on, because you're going to find other people who are willing to hear you. And if they're not
yeah,
willing, then that's on them. Maybe eventually they'll come back to you. You plant that
yeah,
seed, and then maybe it'll come back.
yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. Did you have any legal advice when you drafted your bill?
Well, we started with Jolie Diane, and she helped us quite a bit in the beginning. We don't agree with everything. She and I we butted heads, but we are very
Mm-hmm.
professional with each other, and we're still friends. And uh, she knows I don't agree with everything that she does, and I don't, or that she thinks, believes. As far as I'm actually teaching her quite a bit. She may not agree to
Mm-hmm.
that or not, but I can see how she's kind of turning the corner, because I've been really insistent that she does on this, because I want the focus to be on where it needs to be, and I don't want to ignore the elephant in the sky. Okay, that's not my way. We can't do that. So, but so she's very, very helpful though, and very knowledgeable, and she's really good at
Mm-hmm.
writing legislation. And she's not
Mm-hmm.
going to. For us, it was a good start, and then I took it from there. Okay, so it changed quite
Mm-hmm.
a bit, and I was able to make the changes I needed, and she wasn't offended at all about any of the changes. It wasn't her deal. It was just like she helped us out in the beginning, and then we went from there. So I have a feeling I'll be helping other states start with their legislation. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of how it's going to work. Is you just start with someone who has already done it well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's on our website. We say we're Missouri Clean Skies because we started. That's where we are at. But we're very quickly being pulled into the national and global, scene. I mean, and to try and help other states and countries. And so we're more than happy, because this is, we share, like, we share the same stratosphere. We share the same atmosphere. What happens in Canada is affecting us in the US,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. What happens in the UK affects us here.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, the sky is all of ours. We can't just say there's no borders there. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm probably going to be doing a lot of helping other states, and if you need help there, I'll be here for you.
Aw, well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, I would like to take your word on that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Michael, is there any final thoughts before we wrap? Would you like to?
You kind of cut out there at the last. Can you just repeat that?
I was okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Before we wrap it up, Michael, I would like any final thoughts you would like to tell everybody here.
Okay. Just we're in this together, and we're not. There's a lot of people that. Are you hearing me? Okay. So there's a
Yep.
there's a lot of misinformation. Okay, out there, and we do have to fight that, but we don't have to fight each other. we're all, we all want to breathe clean air. We all want to eat clean food. We all want to drink clean water. Do what you can do, to educate yourself for your audience, educate yourself about this, because it's going to be key to our future and success here. Because if we keep pointing to a red herring that is false information, that's only going to lead us to failure. But if we understand, just take a little bit of information that we're providing to you. If you understand what the facts are, spend a little bit of time, get yourself a flight tracker, things like that, then you'll understand what we're trying to stop. And we're trying to stop it all, but it's really key that you understand the difference between intentional geoengineering, which is spraying in the stratosphere, and all the different methods, marine cloud brightening, those types of things. Understand that. Also understand weather modification with regard to things like cloud seeding. Okay. Then also here, the big one, the big elephant in the sky is the pollution from the aviation industry worldwide. Okay. If we change it here in the US, you have to do the same thing in Canada. They have to do it all over the world. So um, that's so important. This is what you mentioned earlier about, I think you mentioned about the states that, like Florida, maybe I was on a different podcast when I heard this, but Florida, Tennessee. No, you said Tennessee, Florida, and Louisiana who've banned it, right? If you look up the people there that are commenting about the people who live in Florida and Tennessee and Louisiana, they're saying nothing's changed. They say, oh, they banned it and it's a bunch of BS. They're just talking, they're not enforcing it. They don't realize that, yeah, it's working just fine. There's not a cloud seeder in the world that are going to step foot in the state of Florida. You don't know that because you never saw the cloud seeders. You don't see that type of stuff. But what you do see is not stratospheric aerosol injections. And if you can get them to actually open up their ears and their minds to go, really? Rather than, oh, you're crazy, you're bought off and you've already sold out. If you can get them to go, okay, tell me more, then you can explain it and go, look, this is another problem and we need to fix it, but we need your help to understand it so that we can fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you for these final words. Yeah, well, that's amazing. Well, I would like to wrap it up. It's been an hour. Great talk. Thank you so much, Michael, for coming on and joining us today. And again, I take your word and I will be in touch with you so that we can move this forward here in British
Okay.
Columbia and help you and vice versa. It's cross-border because it's a worldwide issue. It's
Yes.
not just the US. It's not just Canada. It's everywhere.
Right.
Okay. All right.
All
Wonderful.
right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Another time would be great.
Yeah,
Again.
I'll look forward to do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you,
All
Michael.
right.
Have a great day.
You
Okay.
too.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye bye.